Hello everyone, how are you doing? We've got a video for you today that should rock your socks a little bit. The 2017 confession, Unraveling the Wuhan Institute of Virology's lab accreditation and the role of international oversight bodies in China's rising power. In 2017, a critical event in global laboratory accreditation biosafety occurred that continues to raise alarm over the lack of oversight and the serious risks posed by international accreditation bodies. The Wuhan Institute of Virology, the WIV, at the heart of the ongoing debate surrounding the origins of COVID-19 pandemic, was certified as meeting the highest biosafety standards by the China National Accreditation Services, which is equivalent in accreditation to ANSI-ANAP. This certification was granted under the leadership of Zhao Jinwu, who has been involved with our quality since 1994. He was also the chairman of the International Accreditation Forum, incorporated in Delaware between 2015 and 2021. And at the time, he was the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services. This is a body that sets global accreditation standards for laboratories and others. This certification has led to an increased scrutiny of the roles that American regulatory bodies like ANSI and ANAP and their international partners play in laboratory safety. From its formation in 1993, the IAF has been recognized as a global body that has both national and international accreditation bodies on it. Also, it ensures laboratory, aerospace, medical, etc., quality standards and safety protocols that could prevent, of course, mishandling of dangerous pathogens for Wuhan, China it is. ANSI and ANAP are also those accreditation bodies, both on the IF and the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation, are equivalent in accreditation to ANSI-ANAP. And we continue on. That means that effectively ANSI-ANAP take legal responsibility for laboratories that fail to meet safety standards. This means that when a laboratory such as Wuhan Biolevel 4 laboratory, handling the highest contagions, fail to adhere to proper biosafety procedures, these bodies are legally accountable. Key dates in the timeline of global lab certification. 1993, the International Accreditation Forum is formed by the American National Standards Institute and the American National Accrediting Board. I already told you. It, like its sister organization, ILAC, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation in Australia, these accreditation bodies are equivalent in accreditation to ANSI-ANAP. It is formed to provide a unified set of organizations for laboratory, medical, aerospace, etc., and product certification. ANSI and ANAP act as underwriters, which means they take full legal responsibility both for systematic and product failure or laboratory escape. In 2004, the French got involved with the Sino-French Cooperation Agreement is signed, leading to the construction of the Wuhan National Biolevel Safety Laboratory, designed to study dangerous infectious diseases. 2015, Wuhan's BSL-4 laboratory is completed and begins working with some of the most dangerous viruses in the world, like Ebola. However, concerns arose that the facility was not adequately staffed with highly trained technicians, despite ongoing training with experts from the U.S. and France. They didn't do that good of a job, I guess, as we've seen from 2019 to 2021. The lab was not up to par in the international biosafety standards and lacked the highly trained, qualified personnel needed and necessary for handling such dangerous pathogens safely. January 2017, Wuhan Biolevel 4 laboratory is certified by the China National Accreditation Services under the leadership of Zhao Jinwu, who also chairs the IAF between 2015 and 21. August 2017, China National Health Commission approves Wuhan BSL-4 lab to conduct research on high-risk pathogens despite concerns about the lab readiness. September 2017, Pamela Sale, Vice President of Laboratory Accreditation for ANSI-ANAP, raised alarms about the lack of standardized accreditation in forensic labs, stating one of the issues is that there is no commonly agreed upon set of standards that forensic labs around the country have to follow. Instead, there are informal guidelines that labs can choose to follow or not. What that's telling me there is she just confessed to the release of the virus. In 2017 through 18, diplomats expressed concerns about the lab's biosafety, reporting to Washington that scientists at the Wuhan Institute of Virology admitted they did not have enough highly trained technicians to handle biosecurity level 4 pathogens. This meant that when the certificate was issued in 2017, the lab was not prepared to handle safely the dangerous pathogens required for BSL-4 research, despite the CNAS moved forward with certifying the laboratory. These dates serve as a stark reminder of the complex system of oversight, or lack thereof, that governs high-risk research facilities worldwide. The certification of the Wuhan Bio-Level 4 laboratory has drawn considerable criticism for overlooking serious gaps in staff qualifications and biosafety protocols. Issues that were highlighted by experts but still allowed to pass under the scrutiny of the international accreditation bodies. The legal and ethical responsibility of ANSI ANAB, and as underwriters for both the IF and ILAC, ANSI and ANAB carry full legal responsibility for ensuring that accredited laboratories, or aerospace, or medical, or automotive, they carry it all. When labs certify these organizations fail, either due to poor training, lack of biosafety measures, or negligent oversight, the organizations that accredited them must answer to the consequences. If a pathogen were to escape from a lab that had been certified by these bodies, ANSI and ANAB would be legally liable for the breach. So the China National Accreditation Services is equivalent to ANSI ANAB. So yes, they are responsible for the breach. The connection to U.S. federal agencies. The concerns about the legal responsibility of ANSI ANAB are not just theoretical. Several U.S. federal agencies, including the FDA, USDA, FBI, DHS, DOJ, Department of Commerce, sit on the board of ANSI ANAB, and they play an active role in its decision-making process. Don't let anybody kid you. It's called SDOs. SDOs are basically, they're developmental certification development organizations. It's just craziness. These agencies do not just serve as members, but are the fact customers, some of them, paying fees to ANSI ANAB, like the DOJ, the DHS, Department of Commerce, and FDA. And FDA granted ANSI ANAB third-party registration, per se, for food safety. We have all that information. This brings to light a troubling conflict of interest. Federal agencies responsible for regulating public safety are also paying fees to the same organizations they are supposed to oversee. The potential for legal action against ANSI ANAB, for those of you who got damaged by those shots from Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, etc., Biden put a moratorium on doing that, trying to sue either Pfizer or Johnson & Johnson until 2029. My thing is, if you need my help, I'll gladly help you, because you have to go after ANSI ANAB, because as I showed you and told you, they are underwriters for the IF and ILAC. And what they're trying to do, I heard, is they're trying to combine IAF and ILAC together to one organization called GLOBAC, GLOBAC, Global Accreditation Cooperation. So they're pushing themselves away from the liability factor when it's blatant in front of your eyes. Well, they can't, because we have that data. So even if they change it miraculously, it's not going to happen. While companies like Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson may be shielded from lawsuits due to the Biden administration's moratorium on liability for vaccine-related injuries, the legal landscape is not as clear when it comes to the agencies, organizations responsible for certifying the lab. The China National Accreditation Services, which has been heavily influenced by the China government, is effectively equivalent to ANSI ANAB. This means that liability for lab failures, including those tied to potential pathogen escapes, can be traced back to the U.S.-based accreditation bodies. Thus, despite immunity granted to companies like Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson, they, along with other stakeholders, could potentially hold ANSI ANAB accountable for failures that occur within Chinese laboratories certified under their watch. Conclusion, ladies and gentlemen. The events of 2017 and the years following illustrate the intricate, dangerous intersection of international certification, global potential influence, and laboratory failure. The Wuhan lab certification by China National Accreditation Services under the leadership of the IAF, Zhao Jinwu, while receiving backing by ANSI-ANAP, highlights a severe failure in global accreditation services and can have far-reaching effects, as the role of federal agencies like the FDA, DOJ, and DHS and ANAP's decision-making is scrutinized. The questions remain: who is truly responsible when a laboratory breach occurs, and why hasn't the system of oversight done more to prevent such risks? This is 203-556-1493, and I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.